All right, thank you. So, um, you're welcome once again, and it's been a very insightful boot camp so far. I mean, we are currently today is the second to the last class, so meaning that tomorrow is our last class for this boot camp, and after tomorrow you'll be given final assignment or project. After that, um, a few tasks you are going to do over the span of a week, or that will span through a week. And by next week, this time next week, everybody must have submitted an evaluation will start. So we are hoping that you are going to get your incentive, that is certificate, and your badge by uh, a week after your submission, which is 2 weeks to this time. You are going to get that in 2 weeks to this time. And by immediately after tomorrow's class, by next week, the registration for the 3 month incentive training is going to start. So we are going to start training. I mean, start the registration because we are envisaging that the class is going to start by January, say mid of January, because there are a few things we really want to put in place to make the class seamless. All right. So thank you very much. So you are welcome to today's class. And before we proceed, we would like to have a brief review of our last classes, the week one, week two, and week three. So very quickly, we've learned a lot. We've learned the introduction to cybersecurity, introduction to cyber threat, definition of certain terminologies, network security, operating system security. We've learned um, encryption. Encryption was what we did last week, authentication, and passwording. So now these are a whole lot of things that we have learned in this boot camp. So I would like to ask, firstly, your understanding of cybersecurity. By your understanding of cybersecurity, I asked a question last week, and I'm going to ask that question again. That now the concept upon which cybersecurity relies on is the CIA triad, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, if confidentiality, integrity, and availability is the foundation upon which cybersecurity rests on, what is the opposite of CIA? Yes, you can signify if you want to talk. The opposite of CIA. We mentioned this last week. Yes, Daramola, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. So, the opposite of CIA triad is disclosure, alteration, and alteration destroyed. Disclosure, alteration destroyed. That's DAD.
Disclosure of alteration and destruction or denial. Disclosure, which is the opposite of confidentiality, alteration, which is the opposite of integrity, and destruction or denial, which is the opposite of availability. All right, thank you very much. So, having said that, what is network security? Any other person? What is network security? Yes, anybody, please. Network security. What's your understanding of network security? All right, Ajay Gideon, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Network security can be defined as the process of providing a layer of protection to data and resources being shared by interconnection of related devices.
Okay, that's a great one. That's a great one. Yes, talking of interconnection of devices, there are a whole lot of devices that can make up a network. So, who can give us a few of them? Say about five network devices or five devices that can be found on a network. Yes, anyone? Five devices that can be found on a network. Okoyemi Akoni, I saw somebody's hand earlier. Okoyemi Akoni, yes, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Yes, you're welcome, sir.
A router, a computer, as
Okay,
in a desktop computer, a hub, an hub,
okay,
a switch, then a printer.
all right. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, those are the few network devices that we have. We have a router which connects two networks together. We have a switch and a hub which help in transmission of data between devices on the network. We have a modem which connects the network to the internet, and we have the devices. I mean, our computer, our laptop, our desktop. We have cables. I mean, a whole lot of things that can be on a network. That's great. Then last week we talked about encryption. We talked about encryption. There are two major types of encryption. So who want to give us a brief summary of the two types of encryption? A summary of the two types of encryption. Adekunle Ojetoye, please go ahead.
Okay, so the two type of excretion that we have symmetric excretion and the asymmetric excretion. The
Okay.
symmetric excretion uses a single key for both excretion and discretion. Example, AES excretion. And the asymmetric excretion uses a public key for excretion and a private key for discretion. So the example that you gave to us is RSA excretion.
Great one. Great one. That's very, very brilliant. Thank you for paying attention in class and for giving us that definition. Now, I was looking at the groups, the teams now, and looking at how the assignment was being addressed. I intentionally did not want to make that assignment complicated because instead of that encoding that we did, it would have been a proper encryption. It would have been a proper encryption. I would have said each group should have a leader send their public key so that I can encrypt so that you go and decrypt before you be able to do the assignment. And I instruct you, I will give you all my public key, then I instruct you to encrypt your answer too. But because I really do not want, and this I just said is going to be in your final project. So take it now. Encryption is part of your final assignment or final project. So if you have not gotten it, go through the video. The video is on our YouTube page. Go and go over it again and again till you understand it. All right. So without wasting our time, because I want us to complete the topic for today and do a bit of practical as well, because you see, I love practical approach to things. Cybersecurity is a practical oriented field. You will do things. So, and if you are going to do things, you must learn to do things. Do you understand? And so I want us to show a few things. Today we are going to web application security. Web application security. But before we proceed, who can tell us what web application is? What's your understanding of web application? What's your understanding of web application? Yes, Oluwanishola, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
You're welcome, sir. Good evening.
Yes, sir. So, to my understanding, as regard what web application means, it simply means in such, let's just say, just like we have all this Facebook, we have all this Twitter, we have Instagram and the like. So their web page on the web, that's simply the web application, sir. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, you are on the way, but it can be clearer than that. I think we need more clarity on that definition. So let's have uh somebody's hand what has been up earlier. Adekunle. Adekunle, please go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Well, with my little understanding about the web application, web applications can be defined as a software applications that runs on a web server and is accessed through a web browser or mobile app. It can programs it is a program that uses web technologies that is such as HTTP, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and so that they can provide a service or functionality to users over the internet.
All right, thank you very much. So a web app is a software, just like you said, it's a software that it runs on a web server. That's correct, and it's accessed through a web browser. That's correct also, and you also mentioned something over the internet, right? And you mentioned something about application, mobile application. Well, it's not like a desktop application or like a mobile application. A web application is a software program that runs on a web server. Do you understand now? It must be on the web and must be accessed by a browser. You most likely will not need a browser to access your mobile app. Are we together now? You will not need a browser to access your mobile app. So if you are accessing any application, you are accessing without a web browser, is not a web app. That is why the web is there. So web application must be accessed through a web browser. Are we together now? An example of web browser, very common ones. We have the Mozilla Firefox. We have the which other one now? We have the Google Chrome. We have the UC browser. We have Brave. A whole lot of them. We have a whole lot of browsers that you can use. So these browsers, they are the channel through which you access a web application. So I'll be sharing my screen now so that we can start the class. I mean the class very well. Okay. So as we always have it, let's look at this. This is our icebreaker for today. I have cities but no houses. I have mountains but no trees. I have water but no fish. What am I? Yes, Okpeyemi, your hand is up. You want to answer? Yes, anyone, please. That's our icebreaker for today. I have cities but no houses. I have mountains but no trees. I have water but no fish. What am I? Ajayi Gideon, please go ahead.
A map, sir.
A matter?
Map.
A map. A map. Okay. Do we have any other supporter or anybody that want to go against that? Oluwanishola, I can see your hand.
A map.
A map. All right. So we have two people going for a map. Let's give one more person a chance to support or to give us another answer. Is any other person? All right. So let's see. Let's reveal our answer. Oh, yes, the answer is correct. So the answer for our icebreaker today is a map. It contains it has cities but without houses, even though some of the maps now have houses. It has mountains with no trees, it have water with no fish, and that's a map. All right. So moving forward, yes, let's start our class. Web application security. We have designed or defined what a web application is. It's an application or a software program that runs on the web server. It's an application or software program that runs on the web server. Example is your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your mobile online banking, not mobile app now. Your bank's online banking platform. Those of you that use banks, you know that, especially our commercial bank, aside the app, there is what we call online banking. You see that online banking is an example of a web application. It's an example of a web application. All right, so web application security has to do with protecting web applications from vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit. Just like in every other part of cybersecurity, web application security has to do with you putting security measures in place to ensure that vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit, they are taken away from the web app. Now, in building a web app, there is every possibility that you are going to have vulnerabilities. Like I have explained to you over and over again, that vulnerabilities are weaknesses in a system or a loophole. Now, these loopholes or these weaknesses can be exploited, and the process of exploiting this loophole is what we call attack or a cyber threat. So now, if we are protecting against this form of threat or protecting against this attack, is what we call security. So this process happening to a web application is web application security. So basically now, web application security has to do with protecting web apps from vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit. Now, if we are looking at protecting web apps from vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit, then it means that we are going to focus more on what are the vulnerabilities that can be on a web app. What are the vulnerabilities that can be on a web app? We are going to look at a few, and we are going to look at a few of the common threats that a web app can experience. All right. So, what are the common web vulnerabilities? What are the common web vulnerabilities? Examples of the common web vulnerabilities. Now, by now, you should know what vulnerability is. Now, who can give us the definition of vulnerability? I have explained it this evening, so you should be able to come up with a definition from my explanation. Is anybody vulnerabilities? Ajayi Gideon, please go ahead.
Vulnerabilities are weaknesses that can be exploited.
They are weaknesses in a system, a network, or infrastructure that can be exploited. Vulnerabilities are weaknesses that can be exploited. So, what are the common vulnerabilities that we have on a web app? The first one is SQL injection. We have SQL injection. Now, what is SQL? Who understand what SQL is? Who can tell us what SQL is? Yes, please. Who can tell us what SQL is? SQL. All right. Okay, Adekunle want to help us. All right, Adekunle Ojeteye, please go ahead.
That is the structure query language.
Yes, structured query language. So what does it do? Yes. What does it do? What's SQL? What does it do?
It's a
What's
programming
it used
language.
for?
It's
You
a
said
programming language designed for managing or manipulating data. Is a programming language
okay.
designed for managing and manipulate data stored in a rational database management system. That is
Hmm.
RDBMS.
Okay. You are reading from somewhere, so yes, that's a good one. At least you are able to quickly search it. Now, SQL is a programming language. It is called a query language that is used to work on a database. I intentionally use the word work on because there are a lot of things that SQL can be used for on a database. It can be used to add, to edit, to manipulate, to delete. I mean, it can do a whole lot of, there are a lot of actions that you can take with SQL on a database. So SQL is a query language that is used to interact with a database or with a DBMS, database management system. So when we now say common web vulnerabilities, number one, SQL injection. Injection. Then we are going to explain them. Number two, we have cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting. Then that is XSS. Then number three, we have cross-site request forgery. Cross-site request forgery. Now there are a whole lot more, but we are going to look at these few in this class. Okay, so moving forward, let's look at SQL injection. What does SQL injection mean? SQL injection is an attack where malicious SQL statements are inserted into a form to access data. Now, database is in form of it's like a form. Are you with me now? It consists of forms and tables. So you interact with this database using SQL queries. Are you with me now? Just like you have your programming language that you can use to manipulate your website and change the script, do things. Same way, we have SQL queries that you can use to add data to a database, to remove data, to request for data, to manipulate it, even to delete it. Are we together? So this SQL injection has to do with injecting malicious SQL statements. So just like we have the good SQL query. Are you with me now? The good SQL statement, there are malicious ones that are deliberately created to do malicious things. So when an attacker is able to inject or insert a malicious SQL statement into a form or into a database to access the data, that is SQL injection. So it means that as you are working as a database administrator or as a security professional, as you are working on your database, as you are working on your forms, or as you are working on your tables, attackers can also take advantage of that. So the statement that you are meant to put on a database is, for example, now maybe you are going to put a particular query on a database. Say, for example, you should put add. An attacker can add something to that statement add, and that statement will begin to do something else. So a statement that should add data into a database will now delete it. Are we together now? So SQL injection has to do with inserting, putting, injecting wrong or malicious SQL statement into a form or data. Now, one major thing about SQL injection is that how it works is that it occurs in web applications that construct SQL queries using unsanitized user input. Now, when we say unsanitized user input, meaning that user input that has not been vetted, that has not been verified. Because now, when we talk of user input, we mean the query statement that you as a user can add to the or can write into a database. So when that statement, when those queries are not sanitized, when they are not verified, so it means that anybody can come up with a new one, with a malicious one, and the database will still take it because the database could not sanitize or verify which one is which. It cannot differentiate between the good ones and the bad ones. So SQL injection is a very, very dangerous form of vulnerability and attack that every web application can experience. And you know that the reason why this is very, very important for you to know is that all web applications work based on a database. That thing you are accessing on the web app is stored somewhere. I have taught you in this class that there's nothing like cloud. Cloud is just another person's system, another person's device. Do you understand that? Cloud is another person's device. So, meaning that what you are accessing on the web server, what you are accessing when you log into when you open your browser and you type in something, that thing you are accessing, the reason why you can access it now and you can access it later is because it has been stored somewhere. So every time you type in your request, it will request for those things in the place where it is stored. So in that way, you are able to have access to the data that has been stored. So that database where that thing is stored, it can experience SQL injection attack. Are we together now? All right. So let's look at the next one. How do we prevent SQL injection? Now, there are a whole lot of details that I can give you about SQL, but for the purpose of this class, we can't go beyond there because SQL injection is a topic on its own. Now, using prepared statements, that's number one way to prevent against SQL injection, and input validation are the two ways. Now, the first one, prepared statement, what does it mean? Meaning that you cannot, as a user, you cannot improvise new statements. So, as you are creating the database, you already have prepared statement that if you want to add data to this database, this is the statement to use, prepared already. You can't change it. It cannot be altered. If you bring anything new, the database will not take it. If you want to request for username on this particular database, this is the statement that you must use, prepared. So either you as a user or an attacker cannot and will not be able to impute a new statement, because every statement that can interact with this database has been prepared. Are we together now? All right. Then the second one, input validation. Input validation. Input validation. Now, what does input validation mean? Input validation means to ensure that every query statement or every SQL statement conform with the format, with the expected format. Are you with me now? Ensuring that every statement, every SQL query, every SQL statement conform with the expected format. Now, this is different from prepared statement. You know, prepared statement, you can't bring in new statement. But input validation, there is a rule. It is not like the statement is prepared. There is a rule, a set of rules that every statement must conform with. So anytime a statement does not conform with that, it's going to be flagged and it's not going to be executed. That is input validation. And you can add input validation and sanitation. It can be G2. Input validation and sanitation. So using parameterized queries. Now, parameterized queries is what we call prepared statements. Using parameterized queries ensures that user input is treated as data rather than executable code. So meaning that that statement is already prepared, already stored. So if you are using a new statement, it will not execute. So it's not like something you can improvise. It's not like something you can come up with. It has been prepared. So you can only use that. But when it comes to input validation, you can still write your own query, but that query must align, it must conform with a given set of rules or a format that is already decided. That is input validation. That is input validation. Do you understand that now? All right, moving forward, let's look at the second vulnerability and attack that a web application can experience: cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting. Now, to understand cross-site scripting, you must understand the way a what's it called now, a web application works. Are we together? To understand XSS, you must understand how a web application works. There are three major things that you must understand about a website. I mean, how a website is built or a web app. Number one, you must understand that you use HTML, which is your code. Are we together? You use HTML. Then the second thing is that you use CSS. Now, HTML is what we build the website. CSS is what will give it theme, like a theme, like the color, the it beautifies it. It makes it look presentable. That is the CSS. Now, these things are programming, those things I'm mentioning, they are programming languages or programming scripts. Now, the third one is JavaScript. JavaScript is what enhance the responsiveness of the website. Now, understanding how this theory works is a prerequisite to knowing what XSS is. Now, XSS is injecting script into web pages viewed by other users. So, what XSS means is that you are injecting a malicious script, a script that is going to run something different. You are injecting it into the existing script. So as you are working with HTML, working with CSS, working with JavaScript, an attacker will inject a malicious script into that thing. So while you are working with a source code, while the web application should be running on a particular source code, a new source code has been introduced into it. So even though it's still going to run the normal source code, but a new one has been introduced into it. So it will be doing an extra work, and that extra work is a malicious work. For example, let me quickly show you something real quick. So we have facebook.com. I'm going to share my screen, and I think I will have to share the entire screen now. Okay, so all right. So here we have, I believe you can all see my screen. I need somebody to respond if you can see my screen properly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now this is
Yes, I can see your screen.
all right, great. This is facebook.com homepage. Now this is a web app because it's an application that runs online on the web server. Now this Facebook web app. But do you know that the source code, I mean, the publicly available source code of Facebook, we can get it from here. So if I press this short code now, it will reveal the source code for this home page, this particular home page you are looking at. Here is the source code for it. If you pick this source code now and you have access to all the resources, the logo, the color, the images, the CSS, if you can design the CSS, this, if you run this code now, it will give you this page. But it will give you this page, but it will not link, because you see all this login you are looking at, this create account, this forgotten password, all these things, they are linking to another page. This is the home page. They are linking to another page on the website. So if you copy this home page, the source code, and you just copy it and you inject it with a malicious code, maybe you just come here and then you add, can you see that? So you just add on this line, you just add something something, and then you just type it and you run it. You inject it into the browser of the user. So when the user runs that code, because you have injected with a malicious code, but it still contain this source code, it's going to display this, but it will not take the user to Facebook. I don't know if you understand this. It will still display this, but it will not take the user to Facebook. So many a times you are going to see websites that I think I have a sample. I don't know if I will be able to find it. Facebook clone. Yes. Let me retype Facebook web clone. Now, look at this. If you open this, now, if we run this thing now, can you all see this screen?
Yes,
Now, look at, do you know that this looks like Facebook?
we can see
Yes,
it.
you can see it, sir.
Now, this looks like Facebook. This is the home page for Facebook. But I tell you the truth that this this page will not take you to Facebook. So if you click here and you type things, you click here, you type another thing, and you log in. Immediately you click login, instead of it to take you to Facebook, it won't take you to Facebook. Somebody has already recorded your email and password. So they will sniff that email and password and go and use it on the normal Facebook. That's how they hack your Facebook. Are we together now? So XSS is a form of injection that has to do with script. They inject malicious code and script so that the web page will be functioning or will be doing extra work. I call it extra work all the time. It will be doing something extra or something entirely different from what it should do. At the most, you still be seeing the home page, you still be seeing the original page, but it won't take you to the actual web app. Do you understand that now? So that is XSS injection. So for example, using this as an example now, you can see Facebook, you can see email, you can see password, you can see login, you see sign in with Google. You know this is just a sample, it's just something to teach. This is not a phishing stuff. It's not an attack. But the same way this person created this to teach, attackers can create more beautiful ones. In fact, they will use, let me show you something real quick. Now you can see that the normal Facebook is facebook.web.facebook.com. Somebody can just come up with web.fb.com. And because you're familiar with that, Facebook used to use FB before now, or they used to use FB too. You just fall into that prey. And then you see, it will look like this. Then you will type your email. You type, let's say cyberdon at outlook outlook.com. Then you type password. Let's say you type cyber, then you type this, and this, and this. All right. And harmlessly, unknowingly, that this is not the actual Facebook page. You click login, it will roll. It may tell you email address you entered isn't connected to an account. That you see, immediately you click that login, they have recorded your details. They have recorded your details. Are we together now? So these all things will put you in a situation where your details will be stolen, your data will be stolen without you knowing. That is XSS injection. Now, the way it works, the mechanism behind it is a bit elaborate. So I'll just point a few things, then we move on. Are we together now? All right. So let's continue with our class. So XSS injection has to do with injecting or inserting scripts into web pages viewed by other users. Viewed by other users. So moving forward, what are the types of XSS? We have three major types of XSS. Three major types of XSS. We have the reflected XSS, we have the stored XSS, and we have the DOM based XSS. So let me quickly explain the three to you. Now, the reflected XSS, the malicious script is injected into a URL or form input and is immediately reflected back to the user browser by the server. So this reflected XSS is actually an attack. Is an attack on the user. Are you with me now? It's an attack. It's a form of attack at the user end. So they inject it into a URL. Now you know that when you type your URL, say www.facebook.com, immediately you click go. That thing is loading a script. I don't know if you understand. Now you will need to have a basic understanding of how web application works to understand this perfectly. Now, when you click www.fb or facebook.com, that is your URL. But immediately you click enter, that URL, something is loading. A script is loading behind the scene. Are you with me now? So you see, that script that is loading behind the scene is what the attackers will inject. That is reflected XSS. So when it will give you a feedback, when you will get a response from the server, it will be the wrong code that you will get a response from, not the original code. But talking of the stored XSS, this is a server-based XSS attack because the malicious script is stored on the server. It is stored on the server. So your URL does not have a problem. But you know, when you send a request to the server, it is going to load the script. Then a script will be loaded from the server end to give you the response of what you are requesting for. So you are requesting for www.facebook.com. That is the home page. You are requesting for the home page of Facebook. Now, where the home page, the database where the home page is stored, that is where the injection will take place. That is where the injection will take place. So when this injection takes place there, so you will give www.facebook.com, but the response you are going to get from the server will be an injected page. So you'll be getting the wrong page instead of the original page that you requested for. Because the way the way web works is that you send the request, you get a response. You send the request and you get a response. In the 3-month training, you are going to see how request and response happens. Because when you send a request and you send a response, many of you don't understand that thing that you used to get error 404. That code represents something. If you get 101 as a response from the server, it tells you that the request you sent is not yet complete. So when you get 101 to 199, 100 to 199, sorry, 100 to 199, it tells you that the request you sent is not yet complete. But when you get 200 to 299, it tells you that your request is complete and your response is being processed. But 300 to 399, it tells you that the request you are making, the resource you are requesting for has been relocated. It has been taken to another place. And in most cases, it will give you the new link to the new place where that thing is stored. That is 300 to 399. But when you get 400 to 499, which is where 404, 400 to 499, which is where 404 falls into. So 400 to 499 tells you that there is an error in your request. So when you get error 404, it's an error code as a result of your own mistake. But if it is 500 to 599, that is an error from the server. It is not your own error. So you are most likely going to have seen error 500. You must have seen error 404. So if it is 404, it's your own error. Check the URL, check your browser, check your internet. But if it is 500 to 599, it tells you that it is from the server. So it's not going to be an issue from your end. Are we together now? So stored XSS has to do with an injection that takes place in the server. For example, the database. So you are requesting for facebook.com, but where facebook.com homepage is low, because you know that homepage exists because there is a script. A script was written for that page to exist. So the fact that you are requesting for that page, the script that backed up that page, that powered that page, must be loaded. So that script, if it has been injected, a new page will be given to you. Do you understand that now? Then we have the DOM based XSS, which is the third one, the DOM based XSS. And this one, the malicious script is injected into the document object model. It's injected into the document object model of a web page, and it executes without involving the server. Now, what is document object model? What is document object model? Anybody want to try? Do we have any web app designer in the house or in the class? Any person? I mean, anybody? All right. Well, the DOM is an interface. It's an interface, and you know most of the programming language you are using to design your website, they are called object-oriented programs. OOP. So the document object model is a programming interface, and it is used to represent the structure of a web page. So it allows you to interact and manipulate the content, the structure, and the styling of a web page. So the DOM is what you can use to manipulate the web page. In fact, that's the basic definition. It's an interface that allows you to manipulate a web page. Now, a DOM based XSS is an injection that happens to that interface that you can use to manipulate. You know, an interface you can use to manipulate, if it is attacked, there will be wrong manipulation. So you are doing your manipulation to make the website look better, to make the structure look better. But once it is injected, that manipulation will be doing something wrong. Will be doing something extra, something different from what you intended. That is DOM based XSS. All right. How do we prevent against XSS? Number one, sanitizing, just like in the SQL uh, attack, sanitizing and validating input. Sanitizing and validating input. You sanitize input and you validate it, meaning that you don't just run scripts. Most of your web browsers, they give you this facility to validate script. So as you put in your URL, before it loads, that loading period, there is a validation that is currently happening. Are we together now? So you use prepared or you use sanitized scripts. You use sanitized inputs. So before you display output, I mean, before you use sanitized input, and before output is displayed from the server end, they also use sanitized data. So once your data is sanitized, a malicious code will not be able to run. A malicious script will not be loaded. It will not be executed. Do you understand that now? All right. Then another way is to validation. Ensure that the right code, the right script is what is being executed. There are other ways. We have the CSP, content security policy. We have the use of secure coding practices. If you're a web designer, when you are coding, there's what we call secure coding practices. So this is a kind of security system that is put into your coding. So even when you don't have extra layer of security, which you should, but saying you don't have, there's a way you can code to ensure that it is secured. So there will be no new input that can be put into it. This is why many people now design their website using various platforms like WordPress and the like. WordPress and the like. The reason is that this platform, they provide CSP, which is content security policy, and also provide they have followed the secure coding practice. All right, moving forward, let's look at the third type, the cross-site request forgery. Cross-site request forgery. Now, what does this mean? It means that it's a kind of attack that forces a user to perform actions without their knowledge, things you do without your knowledge. You don't know. They force you. And how do they do that? They give you the wrong information. So you have the wrong web page, you have the wrong website, you have the wrong data, you have the wrong scripts being loaded. There is forgery, and this one you will not be aware. You are being forced. And how does it happen? You are loading a page. Are you with me now? You are loading a page, and that page is taking too long to load. Then something happen, and you just have to go to you have to, you know, for example, you are loading facebook.com// profile, for example, facebook.com/profile. Then you are trying to load it, it's not loading. You are trying to load it, it's not loading. Then a suggestion just pop up that you can go to facebook.com/profile one. Now that's a change in the actual web page or web or URL that you should follow. But because you are under, I mean, you don't have an alternative, they will put a hold, ensure that there is a lockdown on the actual web page so that you can be redirected to another page. And that page is a forged version. That way, they will just siphon your information, they will siphon your data. That is CSRF. It's not a really common one. That is why we are not dwelling much on it. How do we prevent against it? Using tokens to verify requests are coming from the intended user. This is very, very important. You use tokens. Now, this is at the server end. So this is important for you if you are working with an organization that provides a web app. You will need to understand this. All right. Let's look at the OWASP top 10. Now, what we call OWASP, the full meaning of OWASP itself is like I don't want to call them an organization. I would rather call it, it's like a project. The coming together of many people. So OWASP is from the word web, sorry, Open Web Application Security Project. Open Web Application Security Project. So this is just a popularly known and popularly accepted security project that gives a list of top 10 security risks for web application and also gives certain tools that you can use to prevent against it. You understand? They also give you a list of tools that you can use to pen test. So like the practical we are going to be doing today, we want to do vulnerability testing. We want to check a website and look out for the vulnerability. The way attackers work is that you know that before attackers before they launch an attack, they must have first of all discovered the vulnerability. How do they discover vulnerability? Is the practical I'm going to show you briefly. Then we'll call it a day. But let's look at the OWASP top 10. We have the OWASP top 10. I'm going to be giving you um, the 10. I will list the 10. We only have 3 on the screen, but we'll list the 10 now. OWASP top 10. Number 1, we have injection. These are the most common risk, most common vulnerabilities that a web app can have. Number 1, we have injection. Number 2, we have broken authentication. Number 3, we have sensitive data exposure rather. Then number 4, we have XML external entities. Number 5, we have broken access control. Then number 6, we have security misconfiguration. Number 7, we have cross-site scripting, the one I just explained. Number 8, we have insecure deserialization. And number 9, we have using, okay, let me take number 8 again, insecure deserialization. Insecure deserialization. Number 9, we have using components with known vulnerabilities. Using components with known vulnerabilities. Then number 10, we have insufficient logging and monitoring. That is when you don't take logs sufficiently and you don't monitor sufficiently. Insufficient logging and monitoring. So these 10, go and research about them. I'm not giving you as an assignment, but it's good for you to research about them. It's going to be part of your final project. Are we together now? This encryption and one other will be part of your final project. Can you still hear me, please? Please, I want an affirmative thumb up if you can still hear me.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's great. All right, so those are the 10 OWASP risk categories. So we have the injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, and the rest that I have mentioned. Quadri, yes, okay. I think you have put down your hand now. So broken authentication is weak or improperly implemented authentication method can allow unauthorized access. So when your authentication method is broken, authentication is used to verify. So when that method is broken, it means verification is broken. And if you cannot verify, anybody can have access. So it means that it allows unauthorized access. Then we have sensitive data exposure. Failing to protect sensitive data can lead to data breaches. So you can read more about the OWASP top 10. Now, there's what we call web application firewall. Just like what firewall does, then we have web application firewall. Web application firewall help to monitor and filter traffic to web applications. So this web application firewall is at the server end, the administrator's end. So they use this firewall to know what is coming in, or what is coming into the web application. So when an attacker is trying to breach or is trying to come into the web app, there will be a signal, there will be a log. And because they are monitoring that log, they'll be able to see that, okay, an attacker is trying to log in or is trying to pen test the application. What are the best practices for web security? The things to put in place: number one, regular update. You can see that this has been repeating itself in most of our classes. Regular update. Very, very important, Kunjamin. Regular update. Anything that is not updated is exposed to attack. Anything that is not updated is exposed to attack. Are you with me now? So it is important that you have regular update. Then number two, strong authentication. Your authentication must be strong. Your authentication must be strong. Your authentication must be strong. Then number three, we have input validation, especially to fight against SQL injection and XSS injection. All right. So a case study analyzing an SQL injection attack on a known website. We are going to be doing that now. We are going to be, although not an SQL injection, but we are going to be doing more or less like a penetration testing on a website, a given website. We'll try to test it and look out for, we'll bring out all the vulnerabilities. You know that vulnerability is what attackers will now dwell on and they begin to exploit. So it means that once you are able to get vulnerabilities, you can decide that you want to exploit it or you want to defend against it. The difference between you as a security professional and an attacker is that you know the vulnerability, both of you know vulnerability, but they decide to exploit it, you decide to defend against it. Do you understand it now? So that's the difference between the two of you. All right. Moving forward. So this is what we want to do. Use OWASP tool to identify common vulnerabilities in a test web app. We are going to do that now. This is our lab activity. We are going to be doing it in this class. All right. Then reflection. Before we proceed to the lab activity, discuss very quickly. So I need one person to help us with this. Discuss why securing web application is crucial for user trust and data protection. Yes. Anybody that want to help us? Why is securing web application crucial for user trust and data? This is just a logical question. It's not something technical. They just want you to rack your brain and think about it and give a response. Yes. Anybody? Why is why is securing web application crucial for user trust and data protection. Okay, Ajayi Gideon, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. I just want to try a little bit, sir.
No, go ahead. It's fine. It's fine.
Uh, all right, sir. Securing web application is crucial for user trust and data protection in the sense that this give our user a form of trust with having the assurance that their data are well secured with a particular. Let me use for example. Let me use a little illustration now.
Okay.
Maybe um, I'm trying to register. I'm trying to register something with my personal details now with a website. Now, me having the consciousness and give like those user agreements that we sign that shows that the data is protected will make me trust the providers from that website that truly actually I can release my information to them and it is safe. There won't be unauthorized access to my details.
All right. Great. Great. That's a good trial. That's a good one. Yes, I think we have one other hand up. Yes, Okpeyemi, please go ahead. Okpeyemi, I can see you
Yes,
open.
sir.
Yes, you can go ahead. You
Can you
want
hear
to
me, sir?
answer the question.
Yes, sir. It enables us to secure user data from vulnerability. As in, when implement a when we try to implement to secure a web application, we are blocking all the vulnerabilities that an attacker may want to use against user against our user.
Okay. Another that's a great one. Rebecca, please go ahead.
Securing web application is crucial for user trust and data protection. It actually protects sensitive data, like sensitive information, like personal informations and financial details, etc.
Okay. Now that is well said. Web application security is very, very important because it is crucial for user trust and data protection. How? When our every web app takes a level of personally identifiable information from users. Every web app takes a level of personally identifiable information that should be only known to the user. So if the web app is not secure, user trust has been broken and data will not be adequately protected. So because the web app takes some level of PII from the user, then that the user data must be protected. The web app must be secured. Else, data of user will be exposed. And in that way, it means that that web app is not secure to use. Do you understand now? All right, so let's have our quiz. What is SQL injection? Anybody, please? What is SQL injection? Yes, Oluwafemi Rebecca, please go ahead.
SQL injection is an act of injecting SQL statements into a form or database
Hmm.
to access data.
You try, but you have omitted a particular crucial word. Any other person want to
It's
try?
an attack.
No, there's a word that you need to mention when you mention
All
statement.
right,
Okay,
sir.
Yemi, please go ahead.
All right, sir. An SQL injection is an attack where malicious SQL statements
Yes,
are inserted into a form to access data.
malicious SQL injection. I mean, malicious SQL statement. That's the word.
Statement.
Rebecca, do you get that now? Malicious statement. Not every query statement is wrong. Not every query statement will lead to SQL attack, injection attack. But malicious is the process of inserting or injecting malicious SQL statements. You understand that now? All right, Kodri, please go ahead. You want to speak? Kodri. All right. So I guess Kodri's hand was up by mistake. So the second question, name one way to prevent XSS. And I want this answer to come from people who have not spoken today. We've not spoken today at all. I'm going to call names. I know everybody that has spoken today. One way to prevent XSS. I'm going to call your name. So it's better somebody bails you all out now. Do we have anybody that want to bail the people that have not spoken at all today? Yemi, you have not spoken. Rebecca, you have spoken. I'm not calling you. Stephen, you have not spoken. Finfolo, you have not spoken. Uh, who is this? Tony, you've not spoken. All right, Finfolo want to speak. So somebody want to bail you out already. Go ahead, please.
Okay, by using CSP
By using
or
CSP.
implementing, yes. I don't.
Implementing CSP. Did I teach you that one in this class?
Ah,
No,
No, now.
no, sir.
I did not teach you that one in this class.
Can I,
So
can I talk? I've been trying to raise up my hand, but I have problem with my network.
someone is okay. Who is speaking, please?
Adekunle.
Okay, Adekunle, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. According to what you taught, you said that sanitizing and validating inputs to a
Yeah,
first create injection.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sanitizing and validating. Yeah, see, using CSP is correct. The person that says CSP, you are correct. I'm only saying I want us to stick to what we mentioned in class. I mean, this is a quiz for what we did in class. Do you understand? But using CSP is correct. So that is that about that. So let's the answer you can see input sanitation and validation. That's the answer for that number two. An SQL injection is inserting malicious SQL to access data. Don't forget that as well. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen now. We want to perform what our quiz, I mean our lab activity, using OAuth tools to identify common vulnerabilities. We want to identify vulnerability, and that is what we call penetration testing. We want to do pen testing now, just as a practice. You understand? We'll be using a website, the OAuth Jewish Shop website. Then we do testing. All right. So let me share my entire screen. So let me know when you can see my screen, my entire screen.
I can see your screen, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll be minimizing this, and I will be launching my tool. The tool I'm using is called the OAuth app. That's the tool I want to use for this lab activity. I'm launching my tool, and the website, um, the OAuth Jewish Shop. This is the website we want to attack. I'll be using my Mozilla Firefox to load the website. So this is a web app rather, not website, web application. So this is a web app. You can see it. We want to look for all the vulnerabilities that are on this web app. All the vulnerabilities on this web app. So our tool, our penetration testing tool is loading. OWASP Zap. It is called OWASP Zap. We have a whole lot of them. We have the blob suits. Blob suits, a very powerful tool. A very powerful tool. Okay. Can you still see my screen, please?
Yes, sir. We can see it, sir.
Great. Now this is OWASP Zap, and we want to do penetration testing quickly on this particular web app. So to do that, we are going to copy this URL. We copy this URL.
Yes, sir. Your screen is done.
Is it for only you or for everybody? Is there anybody that is still seeing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you are seeing my screen. So that
Me,
person, you need to reload.
I, I'm seeing it. Oh.
That person, please reload your screen. I'll wait for you for 1 minute so that you won't miss anything. So once you reload, let me know.
Yes, sir. I can see it now.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So we have
Thank
our
you, sir.
OWASP Zap, and then we have launched it. That's our tool. And as it is now, we want to launch an attack, a penetration testing on OWASP Juice Shop. That is our web app. So we copy the URL, then we go to our tool. You can see this automated scan. So you click on it, you click automated scan, then you paste the URL here. You can see URL to attack. So you paste it. What we want to do is that we want to discover all the vulnerabilities. Then, discovering penetration testing is what we help you to discover vulnerabilities. Then there are other tools that you can now begin to use to exploit those vulnerabilities, which is not expected of you as a professional. You should not exploit vulnerabilities. You do pen testing, you get vulnerabilities, then you find a way to patch it. That's your own responsibility. When you begin to exploit vulnerabilities as a security professional, you have become a black hat hacker, and you are not different from a criminal. You have broken the ethic code. So don't do that, please. I'm stating this, although I'm not going to show you much things, but I'm stating this that even if you come for the 3-month training and we show you a lot of you have access to a lot of sophisticated tools, don't ever forget ethic. What makes you different from an attacker, from a black hat hacker, is because you are following ethic and you are not using those things for malicious intent, because most of the skills you'll be using is the same. A white hat hacker and a black hat hacker, most of their skills are the same. And when I mean black hat hacker, I don't mean Yahoo boys. Oh, those ones are not hacker at all. No, 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 no. They are not even part of the thing. Yes, we are defending against them, but they are not. Don't call them hackers. They are small boys. When we talk of real hackers, the tools, the skills they use, they are the same with the skills you are learning. So you are learning it so that you will know how to defend against it, not to also exploit it. Once you begin to exploit it, you are not different from the people you are defending against. Are we together now? All right. So this is the URL to attack. We have pasted it here. Then um, use Ajax Spider if modern. Yes, this is, you don't need to change anything here. Then Firefox headless. Yes, you are using, that was why I went to Firefox. That was why I went to use Mozilla Firefox. You can also use Chrome, but I prefer Firefox. Do you understand that now? Now we are set. We want to launch an attack on the website. Now it's an automated scan, so you are not going to be seeing everything. What you will just get is a list of vulnerabilities. You won't see the step-by-step stuff, but you will see a list of vulnerabilities. So let's attack. You are just going to click this particular thing here, this attack. You click it. Okay. So scanning has started. It's already scanning all the web pages. All the web pages. Can you all see the codes I was mentioning the other time? Look at where my cursor is. You can see 404 200, 404 200. So those are the codes, but you can learn that later. Scanning is still ongoing. You can see it's already at 87%, 91. All right, scanning is done. Scanning is done. So you will over to this place. We have alerts. Then we have one. How many alerts here? We have 2, 3, 3. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 3 is 8. So we have 8 vulnerabilities discovered on this particular web app. 8 vulnerabilities discovered. The first one is content security policy. What that our sister the other time mentioned, content security policy header not set. Now, one thing about these tools is that they will give you details. So when you click on it, you can see you have the description. What is content security policy? Now, before you go to description, look at the severity. Now, the code for severity is when it is red like this. Are you with me? When the stuff is red, we don't have any red now. Look at this. Can you see? Can you see my cursor, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you see my cursor?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So look at this red now. You can see high priority alert, meaning that there is problem. You must pay close attention to it. The next one is medium priority alert, meaning that closer to the high one. Then we have the next one. A moment, please. We have low priority alert. Low priority alert. Then we have the final one, informational priority alert, meaning that this one cannot really cause us problem. All this one with blue, they can't cause us problem. They are just for your information, for you to just take action on. But you see this red, the orange, and this yellow. Pay attention to them, especially the red and orange. So let's look at one of them. Can you see? Cross domain misconfiguration. You remember the OWASP top 10 among the list that I gave you? We have the cross domain misconfiguration there. So it will give you details. The CORS misconfiguration of the web permit cross domain read requests from arbitrary third party domain. So what this tool is doing is that it has listed all the vulnerabilities. Now it's giving you information about each vulnerability on how they can be exploited, and it's also giving you information on what is to be done. For example, like this content security policy now. Sorry, please. Okay, yeah. So this content security policy, you have the solution here. Look at the solution. Ensure that your web server, application server, load balancer, etc. is configured to set the content security policy header. It has given you the solution. So as a security professional, you follow this solution immediately to keep that web application secure. Because if you don't follow it, attackers will read the under this description, attackers will read the effect or other info, and they will be able to get access to the information on how to exploit this vulnerability. Are we together now? So that is that about the vulnerability. If you rescan it, you can scan it again. You can scan it again. If you rescan it, you most likely are going to have more than that. So you can rescan. Now we are rescanning now. We can have more than 8. I think for this particular website we should have 14. That's the accurate, because I've used it over and over and over again. We should have 14 vulnerabilities discovered. Let's see if it's going to discover the 14. Okay, it's still loading. Oh, I think we are done. We are done. Okay, 233. That is still 8. If we close this, we can close it. But because of our time, I'm not going to be closing it. So we can close it. And one thing is that as it's giving you this alert, giving you details, it will tell you you know that this is a web app, and this web app contains many web pages. So if you click this one, it will take you to another web page. Click this one, take you to another web page. So it has scanned through every one of them, and it will tell you which particular page has that vulnerability. So it has made the work easy for you. Now, in using your OWASP app, you can have your report. You can generate your report here. Just click this one and generate report. Lab work for Cybervast web app security, um, web app security testing. Okay, then you can just say generate report. Now you have your report. Can you see that? You have your report here. This report now, you can convert it to PDF. You can save, you can print it here. Can you see that? You print it as PDF, then you print. So you already have this report now. You can send it to the IT team or the people that we harden the security or that we attend to it, or the web developer, so that they can work on the web app. So that is basically what we have done. We have tested a web app to look for vulnerabilities. Do you understand that now? All right, so that is that about that. So, and with that, we have come to the end of today's class. Any question, please? Any question, please? It's time for you to ask questions. Yes, Adekunle Ojetoye, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this lecture. I really appreciate you. What my question is very short, pertains to the last practical that you explained to us. If at all you wanted to be making, you wanted to have that app to download the app that you are using,
Yes.
are we going to uh, type ZAP from the Google so that we can download it on our system?
If you want to hack it right, or I'm finding it
No,
difficult.
like I wanted to have the app on my system
Okay,
so that
the
I
app
can.
I just used now.
Can you hear me, sir?
I'm finding it difficult
Yes,
to
sir.
see you
Yes,
clearly.
sir.
Okay, the app I just used.
Yes, I wanted to have it on my system.
Yes, you can download it on Google. Go on Google and type download OWASP Zap. OWASP Zap.
Okay.
OWASP
Okay, sir. Okay,
Zap.
sir.
You
Okay,
can
sir.
have it.
Oh,
All
okay,
right.
sir. Okay, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank you,
person?
sir.
Any other question, please?
Yes, sir.
Oluwafemi Rebecca, please go ahead.
So my question is it all app that can have vulnerability? Like are they set of is there a particular app or web that
Now, like
that
I
will not
always
have
say,
vulnerability?
every app can have vulnerability, including the popular ones that you know. Every web app. So, but you can't decide or conclude generally that they have vulnerability until you have tested them. And the fact that they have vulnerability does not mean they are not safe. Because remember, I told you, vulnerability is not the problem. When vulnerability is exploited, is the problem. So every app can have vulnerability. It's just like a loophole now. Every app can have, even you as a person, you have weakness. But how you respond to that weakness is what will make it what will make you exposed to attack or not. Now you know you cannot run, and you are walking within a bush where you know there are kidnappers, and you know you cannot run. That's your weakness, and you are not taking care of that weakness. So that's your vulnerability. It will be exploited because they will pursue you and catch up with you. But you know you are using boats, and you know that the people that will pursue you, they don't have gun, they don't have cutlass, they will just pursue you, catch you, and beat you. So you can still, that's not a weakness, it's a strength. You have strength. And since you know that you cannot run, that's a vulnerability, you can get a bike. So you know that with a bike, they can't outrun a bike. So you have patched that vulnerability. So every web app can have vulnerability, but you can't conclude until it has been tested and discovered. And when vulnerabilities are discovered, vulnerabilities are always discovered in batches. So when they discover a vulnerability, that's when they roll out a new update for your web apps. I taught you this when I was teaching you updating and patching. When you see update and patch from your developers or from your app providers, it's because they have discovered the vulnerability that they have patched. That's how they will tell you that there is a new security patch. Do you understand that now? Is it clear, Rebecca?
Yes, sir, but I'd like to ask another question.
Go ahead.
As a professional, after discovering that this particular app has vulnerability, is it the work of a cybersecurity professional to deal with the vulnerability? Or I don't know,
All right.
like,
It
I,
depends
I,
on. I get you. I get your question very well. It depends on what vulnerability was discovered. That is why we have IT team or security team. It depends on what vulnerability was discovered. Now, if the vulnerability discovered is something that you should handle, if it is within your expertise, it's something you have expertise in, then you are going to handle it. That's why you have incident response plan. So you are going to handle it. But if it is something that the developer, the builder of the website of the web app need to attend to, you will escalate it to them. That is why you generate a report. And if it is something that you should neglect, there are some that can be neglected, like the informational ones now, those blue ones. You can neglect them. They can't pose a problem to you. So it depends on, it's not generic. It depends on where you are working and the kind of vulnerability that has been discovered. That is what will determine who will attend to it. Like when you discover that there is a broken secure authentication, a broken authentication on your web app, it's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the developer because they are the one that develop it. They are the one that should include it. Do you understand that now? So it depends on the kind of vulnerability that has been discovered, but it is your responsibility as a security professional if you are a pen tester to discover that vulnerability. Is it clear?
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, great. Yes, any other person with any question? All right. So the silence represents that there is no question from every quarter. So that is the end of today's class. We are going to be meeting tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be our last class. Not sure we are going to have a practical tomorrow, but then we most likely are going to have, and you are going to have access to certain information after the class. I mean, immediately after the class, that is on Thursday, you will get your final assignment that will be individual. Your final project will be individual. So if you have not been working in your team, it's time for you to be exposed. So it's going to be individual. You are going to submit. There's a deadline that is going to be given. Then three things that you are going to do. Number one, your final project. Number two, there will be peer evaluation. Peer evaluation is how you are going to rate your group members, how well they have done. Then number three, you are going to do a testimonial video. Now that is a major prerequisite. A major prerequisite to you getting your. So after you have submitted all, we will collate them, we evaluate them with our metrics, and if you are qualified to get your incentive, you are going to get it. Now let me state it clearly. To get your incentive, you must have scored 70%. Now we stated 80% before, but for certain reasons we are reducing it. You must have gotten 70%. 70%. anything less than 70%, you are not going to get any incentive. So you have just attended this boot camp, you attend it, there will be no proof for it. Well, you have gained the knowledge, so that is enough. But if you get anything above 70%, you are going to get a certificate with your name and the signature of your instructor, and you are going to get a badge. A badge. Then, secondly, we are going to pick the top three. The top three. Now, these top three are going to get a discount on the training. That is if they want to use it for the training. It cannot be transferred. If they are not using it to proceed, it is written off. So if you are among the top three, if you are lucky to be among the top three, you are going to get a discount on the training, on the cybersecurity 3-month intensive training. Are we together now? So you are going to get that. And what are the metrics we are going to use to judge your attendance in class, your participation in your groups, those your team groups, your participation there, your responsiveness, although the responsiveness is not going to really add much, and your assignment submission and deadlines. Take note of that. Your participation, your attendance in class, participation and collaboration in group, your assignments, submission and deadlines, and the last one, your responsiveness. Your responsiveness. So we meet tomorrow for the final class of this bootcamp. It has been an insightful time, and I really believe that you should do the. Okay, Oluwatoni, you want to speak? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. You said responsiveness. Responsiveness in what way, sir?
All right, responsiveness in the form of participation in classes. Participation in classes. So these things were
Oh,
stated at the beginning of this bootcamp. You answer questions in class. You respond. In fact, you ask questions. It's part of your responsiveness. They are all being noted. That is why all our classes are recorded, including last week's class that where we did not use system. It was recorded so that we'll be able to take an account of everybody's responsiveness. All right. That being said, it's not going to take a large percentage, just going to be less than 10. The responsiveness is going to take less than 10. What we take, the bigger a percentage is your assignment, submission, and deadline, your participation, I mean, your attendance in classes, and your participation in groups. Those three. But the larger one is your assignment, submission, and deadlines. In fact, if you submit your assignment to time and you have attended at least 50% of the class, you are going to score 70%. I've given you it now. So I think that is clear. All right. Thank you, everyone. Um, that is okay. Okpeyemi, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. As in submitting assignment to time in the sense of like,
Yes, there is always a deadline.
do you get my question?
You know, some people,
Okay.
many people did
So,
not submit their assignment. Now we have 50 in this boot camp, and the larger, I mean, the highest number of people that have submitted assignment is 22. So meaning that
okay.
the remaining 20, is it 22 minus 50 now is 28. The remaining 28 people, they are not going to get incentive because you don't submit assignment, you can't even meet up to 50% of the pass mark. So submission of assignment is important, and you know that those submissions have deadlines. So if you are unable to submit, it means that you did not meet the deadline. So we are going to take note of that. And we gave instructions on your assignment. You must submit the same thing with your team members. That is what you are going to use to mark your collaboration. So if you have been submitting something different from your team members, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you, everyone. It's a free boot camp, and you know we are putting whole lot of energy, a whole lot of resources into this, a whole lot of time. So the metrics are not going to be really that cheap. You understand? They're not going to be cheap. You can't be getting this for free and you still are not committed to it. Now you can see what we have on ground. About 77 people were admitted, 50 joined, 50 responded, accepted the admission, and only 20 something are responding. You can see how people can now. If we are collected money from everybody, either you attend or not, it won't be our problem. We have collected our money, but we don't want that here. We want you to gain the knowledge. Do you understand me now? So that is that about that. We are going to be meeting tomorrow. Oh, you don't want us to go? Adekunle, yes, please ask.
I am sorry, sir. It was just the last testimonial video. That testimonial video, is it going to be the what you have been teaching on in class that we are going to just to brief, just to explain?
No, we just want you to create something that is not going to be more than 3 minutes to share your experience during the boot camp. That's all.
Okay, okay.
Oh, I just complete.
Okay, no problem.
It's
Thank
going
you
to
very
be
much,
added
sir.
to your own profile too. You need it. You can post it on your page, but we are going to also put it on our page and tag you. That is why we have been hammering on it. That go and follow us on LinkedIn. Go and follow the page. Cybervast is on LinkedIn. You will see Cybervast Corporation. Go and follow us on LinkedIn. We are going to post the testimonial video, and after posting it, we will tag you.
Can you send
The link to
please?
the
You can post the link so that I can follow, please.
all right, I'll send it to the group.
Link in.
Or I tell the admin to post it.
Okay,
I'll tell the admin to post it. Yes,
okay,
Oluwafemi,
sir.
I know
Thank
the
you very
question you
much,
want
sir.
to ask, but you can go ahead and ask. Don't let me presume.
So you need to you need to reply my message on the LinkedIn account that I wanted to create it.
Yes, you see, LinkedIn has a very strict acceptance, very, very strict acceptance, what's it called now? Metric. So if they block your account, I'm sorry, you will have to open another one. I don't know. They are asking for verification. See, let's talk about, about it after the class. Immediately after this class, drop a message for me, please. Immediately after the class, I will find a way around it. You understand? We find a way around it. All right.
All
I
right.
believe no other person want to
Sir,
ask any question.
I'm expecting the response towards the message I sent to you 2 weeks
Oh,
ago,
you
sir.
sent a message too. I'm very sorry. I'm a
Yes, sir.
very busy
You
person.
said that you are busy, that you get back to me, sir.
Yes, in fact, I'm still busy. But please remind me
Please,
tonight. I will respond.
I just need your response, sir. Please, sir.
Don't worry. Just reply. Remind me tonight. I'm going to respond to it. Do you understand?
Okay, sir. Thank
I
you.
will respond.
Okay, sir.
I
Thank you,
also
sir.
presently now. I'm not going to lie to you. I have about 400 messages on reply to. Candidly speaking,
Jesus.
about 400. So people have to bear with me. They have to bear with me. Thank you very much. So we are going to meet tomorrow, and please come to class early. And we want you to make an announcement of this this company. Make an announcement. Let people come and join. If you have friends that want to learn cybersecurity, let them join. The money is not much. I know places where they take 1 million. As a matter of fact, where I learned cyber, I'm not going to disclose that, but yeah, places where they take millions. Yes, I have a paying job, and I know how much we take in my place of work. So please advertise it. We are giving you for 200,000 naira only, 200,000, and you are permitted to pay twice, 100,000, 100,000. This is something you can do. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. Some of our past students now, they're already doing. One of them is already doing internship, and is already preparing for his professional exam. You understand that? So thank you very much. We want to see you in tomorrow's class, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.